What do you think Paul's thorn in the flesh was? Does the text allow it to be something other than physical? I want to go to that passage of Scripture and just read a little bit here. And we have in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7, says, "And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations, there was given unto me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure." Now, here Paul has received many revelations, and here he speaks specifically of one of being taken up into the third heaven. And he says, then, lest I should be exalted above measure. This is one of the things with hearing from God. It's why one of the reasons I reject the fact that God may be giving messages today. We'd just get arrogant if he did, right? God spoke to me. That is never said really out of humility. It's a thing out of pride. So he says, to keep me, there is this thorn in the flesh. Now, if we look at this, looking at the Greek here, just taking a quick look, this is, again, given like we saw in Revelation chapter 1, verse 10 a moment ago, the Lord's Day. It's given adverbally, and an adverb, of course, tells the time or the place or the description of it. And it is the thorn. It is given to me a thorn, the fleshly kind. So I think then, to get to your question here, does the text allow it to be something other than physical? I don't think it does. I think that Paul says literally, he gave me a fleshly thorn to keep me from exalting myself. So what was the fleshly thorn? Was it blindness, as some have said? Was it some sort of other physical malady? I think that it was something that Paul wanted removed from his flesh, but was not removed from the flesh. It's something that he had to suffer through, and learn that my grace is sufficient to suffer through that. So I think that that it would be a very hard argument, really nigh unto impossible, to argue that the thorn in the flesh was some kind of a spiritual thorn. Now, some would say, he sent Satan to buffet me, that maybe Satan was visiting him. There was demonic oppression or something like that was given unto him. And I think that just fails to recognize that this says this is a fleshly thorn that was satanic, did come from Satan, but it was in the flesh kind of an experience. And I am going to do a very quick search here, and let's see if we have that particular phrase, and we do. Let me see if I can look at this. So that phrase, the flesh, is used in the same format. I believe I did this search. It was very quick. And it's used, looks like 12 times. And for example, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 28, if thou marry, thou have not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. That's Paul's argument to say, hey, if you're single and you can do it, stay single. You can serve the Lord better. If you get married, you'll have trouble in the flesh. Now, he's talking about there'll be physical, worldly problems that you have to deal with. Let's see. Galatians chapter 4, verse 14, my temptation, which was in my flesh, ye despise not, nor reject it. Temptation there is probably the word for trial. My trial in the flesh. And I think that's probably speaking about the same thorn in the flesh. And in Galatians 4:14, he refers to it as a trial in the flesh. We have Galatians 5:13. For brethren, ye have been called into liberty, only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. Or Ephesians 2:15, having abolished in the flesh his enmity. This is talking about the work of Christ on the cross that he did in the flesh. So I think you would have a impossible time really to argue that it was a spiritual, non-physical kind of a thorn that was there. Very good question.